You ever onboard a new client thinking you've set up everything perfectly, only to be swamped with endless questions, a bunch of scope creep, or maybe misaligned expectations? It's pretty much like running a marathon without an actual route. Well, here's the honest truth. A messy or unclear onboarding process can really mess up a client's experience, but also lead to a bunch of wasted time, energy, and unnecessary meetings. Also, it'll end up in a bunch of long-winded defensive emails that really just drain all of your time and your resources and just gives you a bunch of stress. But what if there was a roadmap, like a battle-tested method to make sure that your onboarding process isn't just smooth, but also sets up a foundation for a long and productive and lucrative relationship? In this video, I want to present you with that roadmap, your guide to optimizing your client onboarding. It's something that will help you uncover the foundational pieces you'll need to have in place to completely crush your initial conversations and expectations with brand new clients. Plus, we got to turn this into a system so that it is repeatable, and then you can eventually automate or delegate it out to a team member. Oh, and if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you a little tip that will not only guarantee your client will work with you for life, but will also refer you business within the first 30 days of you working with him or her. So let's jump in. By the way, if this is our first time meeting, my name is Emmanuel, and this channel is all about offering solopreneurs and founders strategies that are both effective and practical. Look, over my career, I have onboarded and consulted on the onboarding process for hundreds of clients. I've crafted some pretty amazing onboarding sequences, and I've also gotten a ton of lessons learned in the process. So everything I'm sharing with you today isn't based on theory or assumptions, but it's actually tested methodologies. So let me help you streamline your process so you don't have to waste a bunch of time tinkering and figuring out how to get your onboarding to actually work. But first, let me start with a big problem or problems in not having a solid onboarding sequence. First one being misaligned expectations. Now, without clear steps from the start, and I mean crystal clear, you end up doing a lot of extra work that you really didn't plan for. And all this does is end up wasting a bunch of time and a bunch of money. This also means a messy back and forth with a bunch of emails and a ton of confusion. Now, I should also add that since everyone seems to be really passive aggressive in emails or really bad at communication when writing emails, you're going to end up with these long-winded 10,000 word articles just to describe a problem or how someone's feeling. Lastly, a really crappy onboarding process immediately loses clients' trust. First impressions matter. So if things start off a little rocky, clients will doubt your ability to actually deliver on the rest of the work that you're promising. And they're immediately going to think, well, if this is how bad it is now and we're just getting started, what does the rest of working with this person actually look like? So now that we've chatted about the big issues, now let's have a conversation about fixing them. We first need to start by laying out the foundation. And when I talk about foundation, I'm talking about creating the path to the goal. If you're a chef at a restaurant and you're cooking some world-class bolognese, you're not just going to throw a bunch of ingredients together really hoping and crossing your fingers that it's going to turn out good, right? No, you're probably going to prepare. I believe the term is called mise en place, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It essentially means setting everything in place. Preparation is key to getting your onboarding right. So here are 7 things that you need to outline in preparation for your onboarding sequence. Number 1, upfront clarity. You got to list out all the things that the client needs to know about at the very start. Number 2, outlining the agenda. This means clearly laying out the main talking points for your discussions. 3, got to get the materials ready. This means making sure that you have all the necessary documents and presentation slides ready to share for your onboarding. 4, it's the roadmap. We got to make a very clear and detailed plan for every stage of your process. 5, potential concerns. These are things like your FAQs or your frequently asked questions that you get from your clients. We need to address them up front during your onboarding long before they actually bring them to your attention. 6, we got to define the milestones. We got to make sure that we highlight when all of the different stages are expected to be started and completed. Then lastly, number 7 are check-ins. What's the schedule for meeting or maybe presenting updates to our clients? By the way, we have a way more detailed version of this checklist inside of our program. It's called Leverage. We actually go deep and dissect your onboarding process, then really help you rebuild it from ground up so that it flows a lot better. It's a lot more repeatable, and it's a heck of a lot more efficient in terms of your time. So if you're curious about it, I dropped a link to book a quick 10-minute brainstorm session right under this video. We only have a few spots left for this cohort, so I highly recommend that you book it quick. Okay, the next thing that you have to consider in having a solid onboarding sequence is your timeline. And I want to start by shifting a belief. You see, when I started off my onboardings, I used to have these long 90-minute Zoom calls. Clients would show up super excited, and then by the end of this 90-minute call, they would visually look completely deflated. All of the air in the room would be sucked out, and they would just be thinking like, wow, this is a lot of work that I just signed up for. Then I had this paradigm shift, and that's when I learned that it actually is easier and makes more sense to break up your onboardings into maybe 20 to 30-minute calls, but have them spread out between multiple days or maybe even multiple weeks with a specific goal for each call. And this actually makes it a lot more fun for the client. And I gotta be honest with you, our onboarding process, it's roughly about 6 weeks long, but we cover a lot of stuff and there's constant progression through every single day or every single week. So it doesn't seem like we're not getting anything done. And the key about this is that it looks like everything is a series of carefully choreographed interactions that ensure your client is not only comfortable, but also clear about every phase of your journey with them together. So here's a to-do list of things to consider for your onboarding sequence. 1, let's call this pre-boarding. This is the setup process. Before the process of your onboarding even starts, what do they need to have access to in order to effectively work, or for you guys to effectively work together? I'm talking about tools here, like Zoom, or maybe a solid internet connection, or maybe a microphone and camera. Number 2 is your kickoff meeting. When is this kickoff call? How long is it supposed to be? What are the main points that are going to be covered in this call? 3, your ramp-up calls. So after that initial call, what are the subsequent calls going to be called, or what do they look like? When are they happening? How long are they going to be? And what are the goals for those calls as well? Number 4, you got to make milestone celebrations. After each call, there should be some sort of homework. Then at the start of the next call, there should be some sort of achievement that needs to be celebrated for doing the homework. And this is really just a fancy way of gamifying your current fulfillment process. That way it feels like there's forward progress during every single onboarding call. Because remember, every step matters. And the more comprehensive your onboarding, the more confident and comfortable your client is going to be. And that really means a better result for everyone involved. Next, let's dive deeper into the tools that you're probably going to need. You see, the way that we make sure that we get shorter onboarding calls and sessions is to make sure that both us and the clients are working with the same tools to increase efficiency. So here are some tools to consider in terms of preparing your onboarding. Number 1, schedule. What platform are we going to be using to schedule out our meeting? Are we going to be booking time on Calendly, or am I sending you an event invite for each one of these meetings? And I mentioned this earlier, but are we meeting on Google Meet, or are we meeting on Zoom, or are we meeting on GoToMeeting? And are you going to send email reminders? These are all the details that make up scheduling and that need to be weeded out. 2, document sharing. How are we sharing files? Is it through Google Drive or is it through Dropbox? Am I giving you PDF worksheets, or are we going with Google Docs? And more importantly, how are we going to share this information? 3, how are we going to streamline communication to track tasks and progress? Are we using Asana? Are we using Monday or Trello? Are we giving them access to a Slack channel? By the way, don't be a rookie here and say email. Email is by far the worst option in forms of correspondence and communication. 4, video tools. Now, there's an old saying, what is repeated should be recorded. If you find yourself repeating yourself in your onboarding, maybe it makes more sense to record a video of you teaching the thing that you're saying and make that the homework for your client. That way, when you hop on your next call, they can just simply ask questions if they have any. By the way, if you found value in this video so far, please make sure you click the like button, subscribe button, bell icon, show us some love. Thank you in advance. All right, now that we've gotten a solid foundation and organized your scheduling and laid out some tools for a solid onboarding experience, what else can you do? Well, remember I mentioned this game-changing tip in the very beginning of this video? That one thing that can potentially have your client not only stick around with you for the long haul, but also refer you business within the first 30 days? Well, here it is. It's called TTFW. It stands for Time Till First Win. Look, at the end of the day, your clients hired you to fix a problem or get them to a goal. Now, depending on your service, it might take days, it might take weeks, it might even take months to get it done. But look, bottom line is we all have ADHD and we want things now. So the key to getting a lifelong fan and a ton of referrals is to focus on getting them a win as quickly as possible. Now, this doesn't have to be the result that you're promising, but it needs to be something that is both visible and tangible, that they can point at and make sure that they see this progress moving in the right direction of what it is that they want. And the easiest way to think about this is, what can we create that can give them this immediate feeling of gratification? So if, let's say, you're designing websites, maybe it's showing them a prototype within 12 hours of them signing up to work with you. Or maybe if you're selling internet marketing services, maybe it's creating leads within the first 24 hours. Or maybe if you're a dentist, you'll want to give them a toothbrush and toothpaste the minute they come in. Now, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but I hope you're getting the idea. Now, here's the kicker. This actually should be something that you're already doing for them, and it should be aligned directly with the promise that you're delivering for your client. That way they see value right from the start. And when you do this right, they'll actually think, well, if this is the kind of progress that we're making so early on, I can only imagine the possibilities if we continue to work together. And that, my friend, is the secret to turning a new client into a lifelong advocate for your business. One last thing to note about this though. The onboarding process, it's iterative. I'm giving you a framework to follow with a bunch of prompts that you can kind of piece together. Now, it's your job to apply this in your real world and track the feedback that you get from it. And then from there, you got to make adjustments to make it better.